Ahoj, já vás všechny zdravím. Hello, greetings to all of you, welcome. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the verb to appreciate in Czech. I chose this verb because I noticed that some of my students struggle when they want to express phrases such as I appreciate it. I would like to thank John in particular because recently we discussed this topic, how to express to appreciate in Czech so that it doesn't sound too strange. You see, the interesting thing is that when you consult the verb to appreciate with a dictionary, it gives you several options. And then if you pick one of these verbs, it might not work for the situation that you need. Of course, to appreciate means also more things, but I want to focus on appreciate as in expressing gratitude or thanks. Tak, jdeme na to. Let's get to it. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. To appreciate can be translated as ocenit, vážit si, also být vděčný, but all these meanings are related to gratitude. When you want to express your gratitude that you value something that's not trivial. In English, the verb to appreciate is often used in a way of saying thank you. Instead of saying thank you, you just say I appreciate it, or sometimes you say thanks, I appreciate it. And this is a phrase that's so common and it would not work very well with Vážím si toho. In certain situations, yes. But if this is a phrase in a common conversation, when someone brings you a glass of water, you just say, oh, thanks, appreciate it. Yes, it is kind, but it's not out of this world. These people are not getting out of their way to give you a glass of water. So in this case, you could translate the phrase, I appreciate it. Thank you, I appreciate it, as díky, jsi moc hodný. Jsi moc hodná, if it's a woman. This would be said to a friend, because you would treat them informally, you would use ty. Díky, jsi moc hodný, jsi moc hodná, which literally means you are very kind. Or you can also say jsi hodný, jsi hodná, you're kind. This is perfect for everyday conversation. You could also use the formal way if you treat that person with respect and you refer to them as vy. You could say jste hodný, jste hodná. If you want to be slightly more formal, you could also say to je od tebe milé, or to je od vás milé. Literally, this is kind of you. To je od tebe milé is used for informal Czech, od tebe. To je od vás milé is formal Czech with the vy. Both these phrases are polite. And then there is this phrase vážím si toho, which probably many of you know. Vážím si toho, which means I appreciate it. But it's not something that you would say if someone does something thoughtful but not out of this world, like I said. Imagine someone brings you a glass of water and you tell them vážím si toho. It sounds a little bit affected, kind of unnatural. People would think that you came from the 19th century or something like that you were one of those time travelers from a movie. You say vážím si toho when it comes to something more serious, something that actually took a lot of effort. Vážím si toho is also quite formal. So remember, if you want to simply say, I appreciate it as in thank you, and it's something pretty trivial, you could say, to je od tebe milé, or jsi hodný, jsi hodná, or the formal, to je od vás milé, jste hodný, jste hodná. My natural response if someone got me a glass of water that I wanted, and I'm really happy about it, so I want to express my gratitude, I would say, je, děkuju, ty seš hodná. Thank you, you're kind. Or ty seš hodný. Let's say you want to express gratitude. It's a way of saying thank you, but for something that required more effort. Maybe you want to appreciate the way person treated you. You want to thank them for their kindness. So let's say you want to translate, I appreciate your kindness. I really appreciate your kindness. A natural way would be, to je od vás moc milé, what we saw in the previous section. To je od tebe moc milé. Milé means kind, so you're expressing this phrase in other words. You could be more formal, depends on the situation, especially when you write an email. You could also say, moc si vážím vaší laskavosti. Moc si vážím vaší laskavosti. Laskavost means kindness. And if it's something that required a lot of effort, it's okay to use this phrase. Vážit si means to appreciate. And vážit comes from the verb to weigh something, so you can actually feel the weight, the value of this gesture, for example. Notice that vážit si requires the genitive case, so we have vážit si něčeho, to feel the value of something. You could also have a synonym, which is cenit si. Cenit si is a verb that's related to cena, which is price. So you also know the price. There are synonyms, vážit si a cenit si, and they both require the genitive case. Cením si vaší laskavosti. Formal. Vážím si vaší laskavosti. Of course, you could also be informal and say, vážím si tvojí laskavosti. Cením si tvojí laskavosti. I cannot imagine that I would use this with a friend, unless I would be formal with this friend. And let me give you another option, extremely formal. Velmi oceňuji vaši laskavost. I very much appreciate your kindness. Oceňovat plus accusative also means to appreciate. Cením si a oceňuji are, for me at least, more formal than vážit si. Vážit si is also formal, but slightly less formal than cenit si a vážit si. So if you don't want to sound ridiculous when you are just expressing your gratitude and you don't have to be formal, go for the first option that I showed you in this section. To je od tebe milé, to je od vás milé. Imagine that a friend wants to help you and you really think that this would be better if you do it yourself. You don't need their help. So you want to say, I appreciate your help, but I would really prefer to do this myself. One pretty informal but still polite option would be, jsem ráda, že mi chceš pomoct, ale fakt bych to radši udělala sama. Sama, if it's a woman speaking, or sám, if it's a man speaking. Jsem ráda, že mi chceš pomoct, ale fakt bych to radši udělala sama. Fakt and radši are informal. You could also say opravdu, ale opravdu bych to radši udělala sama. Opravdu is more formal. Now let's look at the formal option. Vážím si tvojí pomoci, ale opravdu bych to raději udělala sama. Vážím si tvojí pomoci. Remember, vážím si means I know the value, I know the weight. Also, raději is more formal than radši. You could say also oceňuju tvoji pomoc or oceňuji. Oceňuji is more formal than oceňuju. Just like děkuji is more formal than děkuju. Now let's translate I would really appreciate it. You want to say, oh, I would really appreciate it if you had some time. You could say budu moc ráda. I'll be glad. I'll be very glad. Budu moc rád if you're a man. You could also say budu moc vděčná. Vděčný or vděčná means thankful or appreciative. So you could say budu moc vděčná, když budeš mít čas. This is more informal. A slightly more formal option expressed with a conditional would be byla bych moc ráda, kdybys měla čas, například. Or byl bych moc rád, for a man. Byl bych moc rád. The previous sentence was expressed with the future tense. I will appreciate it, but many times in English when you have the conditional I would. In Czech we don't need to be that polite. We like to use sometimes future tense instead. Byla bych moc ráda is more formal, just a little bit more formal than budu moc ráda. And if you want to be very formal, if there are reasons for you to be very formal, if it's something serious, then you could say velmi bych ocenila, kdyby velmi bych ocenil, kdyby. I would very much appreciate if. My main point of this video is that if you want to translate appreciate it's not always vážit si, and it's not always something that the dictionary tells you. In many cases, like you see, you would use budu rád, to je od tebe milé, something that you would not find in the dictionary. Now the good question is why vážit si is the first option or the second option when it comes to translating to appreciate. Well, because in Czech we use vážit si to express appreciate, as in appreciate the value of things or people. This is what we mainly use it for. When you know the value. The most common phrase that would not be only formal, if I don't know, a kid keeps breaking every toy they get, the parent could be upset and they would say, you don't appreciate anything, you don't value anything. We would say, ty si ničeho nevážíš, ty si ničeho nevážíš. Or we could also say, ty si ničeho neumíš vážit. Neumíš vážit, as in you are not able to appreciate things, to value things. I know it's kind of rough, but this is what we often say when we are upset with someone who seems to not appreciate things and breaks them, or not picks up after themselves, keep things messy. Ty si ničeho nevážíš. You can also use this word when you appreciate a person. You appreciate them for who they are. So you could also say, vážím si tě. It's a little bit more formal here, but you could use this too. Vážím si tě. I appreciate you. I know your value. Or if you want to say, I appreciate little things. You know that those little things are very valuable. So you would say, vážím si maličkostí. Vážím si maličkostí. Two things I want you to remember from this video. Vážit si is not the only way to translate to appreciate, because the word itself is to know the value, to know the weight of something. And the second, if you do use vážit si or cenit si, remember that it goes with the genitive case. To sum this up, we are going to work on a short exercise. You will see 3 situations, one by one, and your task will be to choose the best missing verb. Only one option is correct. Remember to pause the video so you can work on this at your own pace. Číslo 1. Číslo 2. Číslo 3. Okay, this is it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or any thoughts on this topic, feel free to drop a comment and I'll be happy to answer it. I appreciate you watching this video until the very end. Jsem ráda, že jste se dívali až do konce. Mějte se krásně. Ahoj!